Welcome back. The Army has new recruiting strategies to engage young talent to fill the gaps in the cyber workforce. The service uses Capture the Flag events and an esports team to identify the next cyber warriors. Lieutenant General Benjamin Freakley, U.S. Army retired, is senior advisor at the McCain Institute. He's former commanding general of the Army's Accessions Command. General, thanks very much for coming on. I see different organizations have esports teams. Professional sports teams have recruited their own versions and so on. What do they do, and why does that make sense for the Army to help it recruit the next generation of talent?
Well, good morning, and thanks for covering the story and telling the story of our great recruiters out there. I think they're the hardest working non-commissioned officers in our services, trying to bring the great talent in America in to serve our country. Since the all-volunteer force began in 1973, our recruiters have tried to find the talent where it exists. And in this case, many of our youth today play esports. They're very engaged with each other in a highly collaborative, engaging, and competitive environment. And so our recruiters have teams, the Army has teams to compete, but also to have a dialogue with them and a common shared experience to open the dialogue about what it is to serve our country.
What's the connection to identifying people who are interested in esports and how they might apply those skills to other areas once they join the Army?
Well, I think in large part, it's to see how well they operate in the digital space. It's also to see how much they interact with each other. The military is still as technologically competent as our military is. I led our forces in Afghanistan in 2006 to 2007. Highly technical Air Force, Marine, Army, Navy. But if they can navigate the digital space or comfortable in the digital space, that's where they're going to fight. That's where they're going to receive information. So I think it's important that they can identify talent, skills, knowledge, ability through esports, through other platforms on the internet, to see those who are very adaptable and comfortable in the digital space.
Do you recruit that kind of soldier differently than you recruit another kind of soldier, General?
Well, I think it's tough because there's a lot of competition for men and women in our country who are highly skilled in the digital space and information technology. And they can be paid a lot more in business and in the commercial side than the military. So yes, you have to look for them and talk to them about how important it is to serve our country, to use their talents to help us be better defended, be more secure. And it's a different kind of fighting. They're not going to be on the battlefield, the kinetic battlefield, but they're going to be a 24 hours, 7 days a week battlefield in protecting America's interests in cyberspace.
What would you like to see the Army and the other branches of the military do or do more of in order to recruit this next generation of talent?
Well, actually, it's the nation. I think the military works awfully hard in recruiting and spends a lot of our tax dollars in recruiting. I think our Congress, the Constitution says that the Congress shall raise and equip an army and sustain a navy. And I think that Congress should speak more about service. I think business and other leaders should talk about service, national service, in serving some way in our country, whether that's our frontline defenders with COVID are doing such a marvelous job. But we all should be talking about how important it is to serve our country. Our Congress should talk about service. Our local leaders should talk about service. Our business leaders should talk about service and embrace our recruiters and bring them in to all venues where our young people are, in the high schools, in starting businesses. The recruiters, I do a lot of work. They're now starting a new pilot about autonomous recruiting, which will begin in October, that their recruiters will no longer meet necessarily with the applicant, but they'll be able to do it all virtually. Mm-hmm. So I think the services are very adaptive. I think our government and our nation needs to work harder on encouraging all to serve in some capacity.
Are there specific tools that you would like to see those recruiters have that they don't now, or is it just that access that you're talking about, General?
Well, I think the military is exploring tools. They're looking at this virtual recruiting capability, but the military is a hands-on sport. I mean, you fight as teams, you serve as teams. You imagine you're down in a submarine. You can't be virtual. You're in an aircraft with a small crew. You're in a tank with four women and men. I mean, this is not a hands-off enterprise. It's a hands-on team enterprise. But I think they should keep working with industry to explore any and all. You know, Zoom is such a great tool that we use at Arizona State University. We've had as many as 300 members on a Zoom contest, breakout conversation. There's breakout rooms. There's a lot of capability in technology, Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams. So empowering the military with all that to have conversations, to be able to connect with the youth, to be able to connect with America's families, to talk about what it is to serve. I think all those are on the table and should be explored.
We have less than a minute left, General. As an outside observer now, with inside knowledge from your career, what will you watch moving forward to determine whether you think the Army continues on the right track?
Well, I think we have to hold our standards for the best talent. And I think that that really what sets us apart. It builds our non-commissioned officer corps. We can't reduce the standards that we've held. We've got to encourage more of America to defeat childhood obesity, to work on better literacy, to work on making sure that all Americans are competitive. With only 23% of 18 to 24-year-olds eligible service, we need to change that number so more can serve.
General Freakley, thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you here, sir.
Very well.